Alright, the last of the assassins. We have reached the Blackguard tanky version of the assassin. What have we made here? Well, very straightforward spec. We have all the passives, but let's go over them. So you always start out with backstab. It doesn't deal a lot of damage unless you're behind a target, and in the zone is our self buff, increasing our power efficiency and our damage bonus from behind. Power efficiency is pretty good, it lowers our cooldowns. Then we have the two stat nodes in there. Up here we have the Shiv. We get to apply two different kinds of poisons with this, well, three actually. The first one applies instant poison. Then we have a choice of a slowing poison or a black mantle poison. Black mantle stops healing, 500 healing per application of black mantle. Then we have kidney shot in here, is just a stun. It skills with pips spent, 5 pips, 6 seconds stun. Down here we have the Garrote. It's a pip spender for a bleed. And if we attack an exposed target with it, we poison them as well, but we don't have any exposed things in here. Okay, more stats there and there. Then we have our efficient poisons, which will give us a stacking poison damage buff whenever we apply poison application buff to ourselves. So that is only with the Shiv. And then we have the upgraded Shiv here that will make our attacks keep applying the poisons. Otherwise, it's only one use when you do a sap or a septic strike. But with this one, all of our attacks keep that bonus. We have Blink Step in here, is just a gap closer, 30-meter range, teleports us to our target and dismounts them. Then the promotion class, the Blackguard himself, we get 1,000 extra health and we get to wear mail, making us very tanky. Their kidney shot gets enhanced, that it applies a bleed. In the zone has increased duration, that's our buff. And backstab adds a barrier when used. And then we have taken the Dagger Storm in here, which is a lot of the same. It is just AoE around us, and if a target is bleeding, we will poison them, and it will add a barrier to ourselves when used. Then we have the other stat cluster in here, a lot of bleed resist and some mitigations, damage, etc. And we have taken the War Domain in order to equip a Knife Grinder. Our third basic attack will apply a bleed, and attacking a bleeding target has a chance to spread the bleed around. We have Hellraiser in here, giving us a piercing damage immune barrier for 15 seconds, plus, more importantly, the Needling Haystack. Once we activate this, enemies around us take 15% increased damage, and we increase our piercing resist. But it's about the damage increase. We have Spirit Whip as a minor in here, making our basic attacks splash a little bit. And Crit Dodge. When we crit, we can reset one of our dodges, giving us a little bit extra mobility. I've maxed Dex and put the rest into Constitution with the barriers that we are using. So, let's go over the abilities that we have. On our number 1 here, it's just the Gap Closer. And that is just like that. You just zoom over there. Number 2 is our Backstab, which we are not really built for damage, but you know, if you attack from behind, it still does some damage. Important part about the backstab is that it gives us a barrier and generates pips. And then our number 3 is the Garrote, it's the bleed. On 4 we have our Sap Strike or Septic Strike, we get to choose that one. Number 5 is the Kneeling Haystack. You see this effect, making enemies around us take 15% increased damage. The Dagger Storm looks like this. Short cooldown, giving us a barrier, very, very powerful. Then we have the Kidney Shot, that is just a kick. Applies a bleed as well, stuns the target. Number 8 is in the zone. Let's get our pips up. Use it with 5 pips. We have 45 seconds of the buff. It's pretty big. And then number 9 is the Pin Cushion. There's no flashy effect there. It's just piercing immune. And 0 is our racial. Increasing enemies' resource cost of their spells. Probably will not use it that much, but it's there. We have room on the hotbar, so it's a 30-meter range. They're gonna have to spend 15% more resources, or if they're a pip using class, 15% cooldown increase. you know, situationally it can be good. The ultimate will blind targets around us and dash forward a little bit. Actually, does it blind? I might be saying something stupid. Yeah, it blinds enemies around us and then dashes us forward. The same with all other ultimates, it gives us CC immunity and damage reduction. Alright, so how do you play this? Well, you want to be in the middle of the enemy team, which is where the blink step comes into play, because we can just TP in the middle there. Then generally you'll want to open up with the backstab to generate some pips and give you that initial barrier. Then there's two different ways of applying your first bleed. Either you use the Garrote, that will do a little bit more damage, or alternatively you can open up with the kidney shot. It is a stun and also a bleed. So depending on if you want damage or some CC, you can use open up either with the kidney shot or with the Garrote. You could also do basic attacking to apply some bleeds. Like our third basic attack will apply a bleed. That is also a thing, but that takes a little bit more time, right? Alright, so we're in here, we teleport in there, we backstab for a barrier, we apply a bleed, then we apply our septic strike, giving us black mantle. We pop the pin cushion, needling haystack, increasing our damage, and then we start a dagger storming. Because the target is poisoned, because the target is bleeding, we are applying our poisons with the dagger storm, and it's making them spread. As you can see around on these dummies, they have a black mantle, a little heart symbol with a line through it, and that's the black mantle effect. So that is kind of the whole trick of this build. By applying a poison to yourself and attacking a bleeding target, we get to spread all of that jazz with the dagger storm. So you just engage, bleed a guy, apply a poison on yourself, either the slowing poison or the healing reduction. Generally, it will be the healing reduction poison because that is just super strong. And then you start spinning, spread that stuff around the whole enemy raid. Put the black mantle everywhere, because healing in this game is very AoE based. It will be a lot of small ticks, and you keep reapplying the black mantle. If somebody is affected by black mantle, they get healed. It absorbs 500 healing, and then it falls off. But because we have such a short cooldown on the dagger storm, we can just keep reapplying that for as long as our septic strike buff lasts, which is 12 seconds. So for 12 seconds, you kind of get to block, like, I won't say all of the healing, but a lot of healing in the middle of the raid. Like, a lot of it. So this class is very straightforward, but very good at what it does. If you want to be a tanky guy applying some healing debuffs and some poisons and some bleeds, it does some damage too. In the middle of a raid, and this one is really strong. The big part why he is incredibly tanky is because of the cooldown on the dagger storm. As you can see, by the time we finish casting, it is up again. And every time we're dagger storming, we apply a barrier to ourselves, a 1000 barrier. So you can just get to keep AoEing, keep spreading bleeds and poisons, plus keep reapplying the barrier to yourself, making you extremely tanky. So that is what the Blackguard over here does.